A sausage should be hearty comfort food, but for older adults, it can quietly become a health hazard. Behind shiny packaging, many brands hide dangerous levels of sodium, preservatives linked to cancer, and even contamination recalls. For seniors managing blood pressure or heart medications, the risks multiply. Stay tuned, because we're exposing 9 sausage brands you must avoid, and 2 that actually deserve your trust. Starting with number 9, Jimmy Dean, the quick breakfast that hits hard before coffee. Salt bomb in a tiny link. That's not me being dramatic, that's what the nutrition panel screams if you actually read it. One serving of Jimmy Dean sausage can slam you with over 700 milligrams of sodium. Seniors are told to stay under 1,500 to 1,800 a day. Do the math. A couple of links, and you've already burned through nearly half the safe limit before you even butter toast. The promise is comfort. The betrayal is chemical. The ads lean on hearty mornings, families around the table, sizzling patties that smell like tradition. The reality, nitrates and nitrites baked into those patties are preservatives the World Health Organization has linked to higher colon cancer risk. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. even pointed out that some of these additives are banned or restricted in Europe, but still pushed in American brands. Safe abroad, risky here. Doesn't that sound backwards? Open a frozen pack and the first thing you notice isn't home-style comfort. It's a greasy film on the wrapper and a sweet chemical smell that clings to your fingers. Drop one in a skillet, and instead of clean meat aroma, the patty sweats out orange oil that pools on the pans. Customers on food boards posted photos of gray centers, sausages cooked through but looking like clay inside. But here's the part no label shouts. Staff forums described rushed batches, oversalted on purpose to hit flavor notes fast. Convenience is the pitch. Speed is the process. And what you're left with is food that hits your blood pressure before it ever hits your stomach. For older adults balancing heart medication, it's more than flavor fatigue. Sodium spikes can blunt the effect of BP drugs, pushing numbers higher than doctors want. Fluid retention strains kidneys that are already working overtime. Add in the fat load, and you're looking at food that stresses every weak link in the system. What sells as morning strength may leave you sluggish, swollen, and worse off by noon. Picture it. You bite into a link expecting hearty, savory meat. Instead, the casing gives way to a gummy interior that leaves a greasy coat on your tongue. Wash it down with coffee, and the aftertaste sticks like film. Breakfast should fuel, not feel like a chore your organs have to process. Would you still call that home style? Or would you call it fast food science dressed up in a farmhouse ad? That's the betrayal, trusting a brand name and getting lab meat instead of real breakfast. So what's the fix? Keep it simple. Buy low-sodium chicken or turkey links with no nitrite added. Or skip the factory pack altogether. Ground turkey mixed with sage and pepper makes quick patties that taste clean and freeze well. Heat them up, and your kitchen smells like real food, not chemical smoke. Name and shame. What's the worst breakfast sausage you've ever opened? Drop it in the comments. Let's compare disasters. Hearty taste, heavy toll. That was just the opening round. Sodium overload was bad enough. Wait until you see what's hiding behind farmhouse tradition next. Rolling in at number 8. Hillshire Farm, the farmhouse tradition, with a metal surprise. Shiny bag, sharper risk. That's the reality when a sausage sold as rustic comfort ends up in federal recall logs. Back in 2018, Hillshire had to pull smoked sausage products after inspectors found metal fragments inside. Think about that for a second. You sit down for breakfast expecting a smoky bite, and instead, your teeth meet a shard of steel. For seniors with dental implants or anyone on blood thinners, that is more than unpleasant. That's a trip to the ER waiting to happen. The betrayal is right on the label. Hillshire sells nostalgia. Farmhouse and tradition sit in big fonts promising simple meats and honest flavor. But the ingredient list runs long. Phosphates, sodium nitrite, flavor enhancers stacked like a science kit. Each link carries around 550 to 600 milligrams of sodium. Eat a couple and you're already pushing well past a third of a senior's recommended daily allowance. More sodium than your entire blood pressure plan can handle in one greasy breakfast. And it's not just numbers on a chart. Reviews mention a rubber snap casing, more like chewing on plastic tubing than a natural skin. Some describe a faint tin taste that lingers long after the smoke fades. That's not home style, that's factory fatigue. Shoppers even uploaded photos of strange hard bits lodged inside, with one reviewer flat out saying, "I bit down on something that felt like gravel." But you won't like what's behind that smoky smell. A whistleblower revealed bladeware in grinders was a known headache in at least one facility. Staff knew the edges were breaking down, and yet production kept running to meet volume targets. That's how fragments sneak in. Staff forums have lines like, "Sharpen later, ship now." For a brand that wraps itself in heritage and quality, that's a cruel contradiction. For older adults, every bite has added weight. High sodium fuels swelling and spikes in blood pressure. Phosphates chip away at bone health, increasing fracture risks in seniors already facing osteoporosis. And dental injury from stray fragments? Imagine the damage if you're on medication that slows clotting. One sharp crunch could become a dangerous bleed. So skip the corporate farmhouse fantasy and buy sausage with a natural casing, clearly labeled nitrite-free. Or better yet, pick up chicken or turkey sausage from a local butcher, freeze it at home, and pull out portions as you need. That way, you know the blade marks came from your own knife, not from worn-out factory equipment. What's the most unexpected thing you've ever bitten into? Name and shame in the comments. I bet someone here found worse. The only crunch in sausage should be the sear. Shards in sausage sound shocking, but the next brand turns grease into a full-blown spectacle of oil, stains, and regret. At 7 Eckrich, the family night link that drips like a grease candle. Oily sheen, heavy hit. That's the first impression when you peel back the plastic and see the orange puddle already forming in the tray. This isn't hearty food for the whole family. It's a fat bomb with a side of regret. The promise is simple. Affordable packs, easy to cook, perfect for weeknight dinners. The betrayal? More than 70% of the calories in certain Eckrich, smoked and skinless sausages come straight from fat. That means one short serving can blow past your saturated fat allowance before dessert. It's not just a greasy indulgence, it's a slow squeeze on arteries already under strain. Reports claimed oil bleeds through paper towels. Store staff noted grease pooling in frozen cases. You can taste it too. A gummy interior, the kind that sticks to teeth like paste. Heat it up, and you get a stale meat perfume, a smell more like a storage locker than a kitchen. And the salt math is worse. Many Eckrich links pack over 600 milligrams of sodium per serving. Pair that with the heavy protein load, and it's trouble for older adults. Kidneys working overtime, blood pressure spiking, reflux rolling back up the throat. Add cholesterol on top, and it's like stacking weights on a wobbly shelf. It's going to collapse. Customers talk about how one bite leaves fingers slick with oil, napkins useless against the shine. Grease candle isn't just a joke. It's a fair description of how these sausages melt down in the pan. What should be family-friendly ends up being family fatigue, a meal you feel dragging you down. Whistleblower chatter online has even hinted at shortcuts in fat trimming. Less trimming means more yield, and more yield means bigger profit. But it also means your plate comes swimming in rendered oil. No one advertised that on the farmhouse-style font. For seniors, this isn't just unpleasant. Too much fat can tangle with meds, slow digestion, and worsen reflux. Pair it with high salt and you've got the perfect storm. Fluid retention, joint swelling, a heart working harder than it should. There is a way out. Lean chicken apple sausage, air-fried and blotted with a paper towel, delivers flavor without the oil spill. Pair it with high-fiber sides, beans, roasted veggies, and your body actually thanks you. Clean taste, less stress on the system. So, what's the greasiest sausage disaster you've ever pulled from a pan? Bet you've seen worse. Prove it in the comments. Family size, hospital-grade sodium. Quick pause before the grill gets louder. Want to stay ahead of food dangers and hidden risks? Hit subscribe now so you don't miss the facts that could protect your health. Number 6, Johnsonville. The backyard sizzles with a plastic plot twist. Sear, snap, then shards. That's the nightmare Johnsonville fans lived through when the USDA announced a recall of nearly 100,000 pounds of smoked sausages back in 2019. The reason? Plastic fragments inside the meat. A sausage that should melt on the grill ended up crunching like a toy part in your mouth. Johnsonville loves to sell heritage. Family-owned since 1945. Real Wisconsin tradition. Warm images of backyards and baseball games. That's the pitch. The betrayal? Hidden nitrites, high sodium, and preservatives linked to cancer risks. Seniors especially should worry. One single link can carry more than 600 milligrams of sodium. Pair 2 with a bun and condiments, and you've blown through half of your recommended daily sodium limit before you even count chips or potato salad. More sodium than your entire blood pressure plan can handle in one meal. Inspectors documented packaging scraps turning up along conveyor belts. Staff forums later described broken equipment that wasn't fixed quickly, leading to fragments mixing with meat. Grillers online posted photos of suspicious blue and white shards tucked inside links. That clicky plastic bite? It wasn't your imagination. It was contamination hiding in plain sight. For older adults, the risks multiply. A sharp fragment could cut soft tissue in the mouth, leading to serious bleeding for anyone on blood thinners. A choking hazard that might be a nuisance for a young adult can be life-threatening for seniors. Add the sodium load and chemical preservatives, and you've stacked short-term danger with long-term damage. Doctors warn nitrites increase stomach cancer risks. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has even argued that America's tolerance for additives like these is shocking when compared to Europe, where many are banned or tightly restricted. The sensory reality doesn't line up with the marketing either. Toss Johnsonville brats in a pan and you're greeted with more chemical steam than savory smoke. The smell stings your nose, lingers on your clothes, and makes you wonder why a so-called heritage recipe reeks like a lab. Slice one open, and the texture doesn't lie. Grease pools at the cut, and if you're unlucky, you spot specks that look like they came from a factory floor. And that heritage story leaves out the lab list. Sodium nitrite, MSG, and fat levels that push your cholesterol higher than a grill flare-up. For kidneys already strained, or for anyone on heart meds, that's a heavy price for backyard nostalgia. So what's the fix? Choose chicken or turkey brats labeled "No Nitrite Added." Grill them with onions and mustard for flavor that doesn't come with a side of plastic. You'll still get that snap on the grill, but you won't risk swallowing blue fragments or spiking your blood pressure. What's the weirdest thing you've ever bitten into at a barbecue? Bet someone here has a worse story. Drop it in the comments. Big flavor, bigger fine print. The grill smoke won't cover this one. What's next carried a recall so big, it left regulators scrambling to explain. Cracking the top 5 Bar S, the bargain stick with a cold case history. Cheap now, costly later. That's the trap many fall into when reaching for the lowest price in the sausage aisle. The slogan promises quality meats. The track record tells another story, one filled with recalls and risks that cut far deeper than your wallet. Back in 2016, Bar S had to recall more than 350,000 pounds of hot dogs and sausages. The culprit was possible Listeria contamination, a bacterium that doesn't just cause stomach upset. For older adults, immune-compromised individuals, or anyone already managing kidney issues, it can mean hospitalization or worse. The FDA warns that seniors are 20 times more likely to die from Listeria infection compared to the general population. Yet Bar S still floods the freezer section with low-cost links that play roulette with health. The sensory experience doesn't match the shiny packaging either. Peel one out of the bag, and the first thing you feel is clammy skin, cold and sticky against your fingers. Bite in, and under the smoky cover lurks a metallic tang that shouldn't be there. Customers online have shared photos of packs puffed up with trapped gas, bloated long before the sell-by date. "I opened the bag and it smelled sour," one shopper reported. Another said, "The casing looked wet, almost slimy, even though the date wasn't close." Here's the part shelves won't tell you. Staff forums have described cold rooms that struggled in summer. When refrigeration fails in processing plants, bacteria thrive. And unlike moldy bread, you can't see Listeria. It hides in the folds of meat, silent until it hits your system. For seniors on medication that already weakens immunity, that's an invisible danger with devastating results. And the salt content doesn't help either. A couple of Bar S sausages can run more than 500 milligrams of sodium each. Stack that with a cheap bun and condiments, and you're over a third of your daily limit in minutes. For blood pressure patients, that's enough to nudge numbers out of the safe zone. Add in the kidney strain of fighting off infection, and it's a perfect storm seniors can't afford. But there is a fix. Look for brands that publish independent test results, or buy fresh sausage from a butcher and freeze it the same day. That way, you control the cold chain and know what's on your plate hasn't sat in a warm warehouse. Even better, lean chicken or turkey sausages cut the fat and trim the risk without losing flavor. What's the most disgusting sausage you've ever opened? Share it in the comments. I bet someone here has a horror story that beats yours. Low price, high odds. Listeria roulette wasn't the bargain anyone asked for. The sausage ahead? It's fast, spongy, and pharmacy-level dangerous. Number 4. Banquet Brown and Serve. Fast breakfast with a pharmacy twist. Soft link, hard news. That's the reality when you swap a skillet for a microwave packet that promises home-style comfort in minutes. The box sells speed and tradition, but inside you'll find additives, fillers, and textures that make breakfast feel more like a lab test than a meal. Banquet Markets. Brown N. Serve as the family-friendly shortcut. But the betrayal comes in the label, sodium phosphates, nitrites, and flavor enhancers. 3 links add up to nearly 500 milligrams of sodium. That's almost a quarter of your entire daily limit in a few soggy bites. For older adults, that spike isn't just numbers on paper. It's higher blood pressure, fluid retention, and stress on kidneys already doing overtime. And then there's the phosphate problem. Studies link high phosphate intake to bone weakening and calcium loss. Seniors already face risks of fractures, and this breakfast only adds fuel. The FDA has flagged phosphate additives as safe in small amounts, but small doesn't mean stacked into every meal. Banquet doesn't highlight that in the ads. Instead, they show smiling families around the table while the fine print lists what could send grandma to her doctor sooner than expected. Bite into one, and instead of a hearty snap, you get a spongy chew. The center often looks gray, almost lifeless, with a chemical aftertaste that clings to your tongue. One ex-line cook joked it bounces on the pan. Reviewers describe a rubber chew, the kind where you question if you're eating meat or a molded sponge. Ever had a sausage that springs back when you press it? That's not a sign of freshness. That's a sign of fillers. And wait for the add-on you didn't order. Phosphates aren't just in the sausage. They show up in sodas, boxed dinners, even baked goods. Stack enough of them and suddenly you're way past what your body can process safely. For seniors with heart disease or kidney concerns, that's a silent overload. How many people grab these sausages every morning without realizing the buildup? But the good news is, you can fix breakfast without tossing tradition. Swap Banquet's gray links for lean turkey sausage. Pan brown it with a little sage and fennel, or crumble it into scrambled eggs. You get flavor, protein, and none of the pharmacy-level additives. Want speed? Cook a batch on Sunday, freeze them, and reheat when needed. Quick doesn't have to mean questionable. What's the most rubbery sausage you've ever chewed through? Drop it in the comments. I bet someone else here knows that exact bounce. Brown and Serve, regret. Rubber chew and gray centers were only the start. The next brand sells hearty tradition but hides sugar glaze and salt. In the bronze spot, Armour. Hearty flavor, built on sugar and salt. Sweet smoke, salty burn. That's what greets you when the link hits your tongue. The package talks about tradition, strength, and comfort. But behind the shiny logo is a recipe padded with corn syrup, MSG, and sodium nitrite. Armour sells nostalgia. What you actually get is a chemical stew in casing form. The betrayal starts with the numbers. One serving can pack more sodium than a bag of chips, and Armour doesn't stop there. Several lines include added sugar, sometimes 2 to 3 grams per link. That may sound small, but for seniors managing diabetes, those hidden sugars matter. Blood sugar swings hit harder when mixed with salt shocks, leaving you tired, lightheaded, and craving more. MSG adds another punch, with customers online saying 2 links left their tongues tingling and their heads pounding. Here's the part they won't put in commercials. Reports claimed sweetening to mask older meat. The glaze? Sticky, almost tacky on the casing, like syrup rubbed over smoke. That's not hearty, it's camouflage. You bite down and get a stale haze of smoke, a sugary gloss, and a salty burn that lingers long after breakfast is done. Does that sound like family comfort? And the label calls it hearty. Your numbers won't. Seniors watching blood pressure or blood sugar levels face double trouble here. Pressure spikes from sodium, sugar jolts that mess with meds, kidney stress from all the extra filtering. For someone on heart pills, it's not just a bad breakfast, it's a dangerous one. Midway through, the shocker is how normalized this has become. Armour isn't banned. It's not even flagged in most aisles. Yet in Europe, nitrite restrictions are tighter. Even Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has raised alarms about what passes here versus abroad. Why is it safer there but not here? Reviewers describe tongue burn after 2 links. That's not a seasoning win, that's chemical overload. And the worst part? It's marketed as an easy win for the family table, priced for convenience, dressed up as heritage. But you do have options. Look for sausages labeled "no sugar added." Grab turkey or chicken links without nitrites. Or make your own mix with ground turkey, mustard, and sauerkraut for tang without the chemical haze. Real hearty flavor doesn't need corn syrup to fake it. What's the strangest aftertaste you've had from a sausage? Comment below. I'm betting Armour shows up more than once. Flavor that fights back. They called it hearty, but your numbers won't agree. Runner-up is cheaper, sourer, and proves that value can rot fast. Runner-up, great value. The low price link with a freshness problem. Sale sticker, sour scent. That's the trade-off when you're reaching for the cheapest sausage in the aisle. Great value sells of the promise of savings, but what you actually get is filler-heavy links, fat-drenched calories, and a history of packaging that doesn't always keep its content safe. The betrayal is clear. Walmart's budget brand markets itself as value for families. But shoppers have posted photos of gray blotches under the casing, packs that looked bloated before the sell-by date, and an odd, sour-sweet smell the second the seal was cut. Store workers even admitted ballooned packages were pulled from coolers early, a sign of gas buildup from bacterial growth. Cheap is not the same as safe. Now let's talk numbers. One link can carry as much fat as an entire lean chicken breast, with over 70% of calories from fat. That's not breakfast energy, that's a grease bomb. Add sodium, often well over 400 milligrams per serving, and seniors on blood pressure meds are hit with spikes that undo a whole week of careful diet work. Great value products have shown up in allergen mislabeling databases. For someone with soy or dairy sensitivities, a hidden filler isn't just dishonest, it's dangerous. But here's the part shelves won't tell you. A sour pack can turn a quick breakfast into food poisoning. Seniors on blood thinners or heart meds face higher risks when dehydration hits. Stomach upset doesn't sound dramatic until it puts you in an ER bed. Ever notice how budget often means corners cut in cold storage? One report described cold rooms that couldn't keep steady temps in summer. That's not value, that's risk sold cheap. Open a fresh pack and the smell isn't fresh, it's off. The casing feels clammy, like it's sweated through the plastic. Fry it up and the pan spits with a chemical tang. The taste? Gray, flat, with a sour afternote that clings. That's not breakfast, that's regret reheated. And the real shocker, people still think they're saving money. But what's the cost of a doctor visit? What's the price of ruined blood pressure readings or a hospital stay for an allergen reaction? Seniors especially don't have room for that gamble. You're not helpless, though. The fix is simple. Skip the bargain bin and buy from the deli case, where turnover is faster. Freeze portions the same day so freshness lasts. Or choose verified allergen-free turkey links with no fillers on the label. Real savings come from staying healthy, not shaving $1 off breakfast. What's the worst thing you've smelled after peeling open a fresh pack? Drop it in the comments. I want to see if great value wins that vote. When the bag puffs, your luck deflates. Ballooned packs and sour clouds were bad. But the #1 brand? It's the childhood classic still fooling millions today. At #1, Oscar Mayer, the childhood classic with grown-up problems. Nostalgia meets the salt shaker. The jingle still plays in people's heads, but the links in the pack tell a different story. Oscar Mayer sells itself as the most trusted name in hot dogs and smoked sausages. Families grew up on it, kids sang the song, parents thought it was safe. But behind that happy tune are recalls, excess sodium, and more than a few packaging blunders. Let's start with the numbers. Some smoked links pack up to 900 milligrams of sodium in a single serving. That's nearly half a senior's daily limit, gone in just 2 hot dogs. Add water retention and stress on the kidneys, and suddenly lunch turns into a health gamble. For people on blood pressure meds, one meal can undo their morning dose. It's not flavor, it's a salt spike wrapped in nostalgia. And then there are the recalls. Past issues included metal fragments found in certain batches, plus packaging errors that left allergens unlabeled. Inspection notes once mentioned cooling shortcuts, a practice that risks bacterial growth if temps slip for even a short window. Customers have also reported an off smell before the sell-by date. Sour steam rising when the pan hits heat. You think you're getting a childhood favorite. Instead, you're staring at a greasy gloss and pale centers that cook into mush. The reality is rough. Greasy casing that leaves oil on your fingers. Centers that look washed out, almost gray. A sour puff of steam when the links hit the skillet, the kind that clings in the kitchen air. One shopper called it like frying regret. Does that sound like the cheerful jingle we all remember? The label shows trust. The commercials show kids smiling. But the numbers don't lie. Sodium at unsafe levels. Recalls that prove mistakes happen. Shortcuts that shouldn't slide for a brand this big. The FDA has logged incidents. Europe enforces stricter rules on nitrites in sausages. Why is it safer overseas than here? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has even hinted at how regulations bend to big brands. Makes you wonder, who's really protected? But you're not stuck. The fix is simple. Switch to lower sodium turkey or chicken sausage, or try small batch brands that publish processing details. Real transparency means fewer surprises in your skillet. And trust me, your heart and kidneys will thank you. What's the worst Oscar Mayer pack you've opened? The one that looked fine on the outside but stank when you cracked it? Drop it in the comments, because those stories matter. A jingle can't clean a salt load. The jingle is catchy, the salt is crushing. Enough bad news, let's flip it, and spotlight sausages that actually earn trust. First, good pick, Applegate Naturals. Simple label that reads like food. Short list, clearer choice. After a full countdown of recalls, salt bombs, and greasy regret, here's one brand that actually keeps its promises. Applegate sells itself as the natural option, and for once, the marketing lines up with reality. The labels are short. The ingredients look like things you'd use in your own kitchen. No artificial nitrites. Antibiotic-free meat. Lower sodium than most of the competition. It's not perfect, but it's a far cry from the bloated packs we just went through. Cook one of their turkey sausages and you'll hear a firm snap, not the spongy pop of fillers. The smell is smoky in a clean way without the chemical haze that lingers in your nose. Bite in, and there's no sour steam, no gummy chew, no aftertaste that clings to your tongue. Just sausage that tastes like sausage. Simple, right? By cutting nitrites and trimming sodium, Applegate has made something safer for seniors juggling blood pressure meds or kidney issues. One link doesn't push you past half your daily salt limit. That alone makes it a smarter pick. For those managing diabetes, you're not also fighting hidden corn syrup or mystery flavor enhancers. It's proof that processed meat doesn't have to mean chemical soup. Now, portion still matters. Even the cleanest sausage packs fat and salt. Keep servings modest. Pair with high-fiber sides like beans or greens to balance the plate. And here's a real tip. Freeze them flat at home. That way, you avoid ice burn and still keep quick options on hand without the soggy freezer damage that ruins texture. You won't believe how different it feels when the food on your fork matches the label on the box. No second guessing. No late-night news about recalls. Just a little peace of mind, which honestly tastes better than smoke and grease ever could. Tried this brand. Did you taste the difference? Let us know in the comments because real stories keep the pressure on these companies. Browned, firm, and safe. This one proves the industry can do better. Clear labels almost feel rare. Don't relax yet. The next good pick trims even more fat without cutting the flavor. Second good pick, Alfresco. Lighter meat that doesn't taste light. Lean, but not boring. That's the hook with this brand, and surprisingly, it holds up. Where other healthy sausages often taste like rubber tubes pumped with air, Alfresco manages to keep texture, flavor, and some dignity intact. You cut one open and see firm meat flecked with herbs, not gray filler paste. Heat it up, and the plate stays clean. No puddle of grease, no slick residue that leaves your stomach uneasy. Here's why it matters. Alfresco uses chicken as the base, cutting fat while keeping protein steady. A single link averages about 70 calories, with around 3 grams of fat and 13 grams of protein. That balance means you can actually enjoy breakfast without carrying the weight of a double cheeseburger in your gut by noon. For seniors, this is a real upgrade. Lower fat supports heart health goals, while the available lower salt SKUs make it easier to stay within doctor-recommended sodium limits. No hidden nitrites waiting to spike blood pressure. But here's the real shocker. Taste doesn't vanish when fat does. Bite into their apple chicken sausage, and you get a hint of sweetness balanced with herbs, not the bland chalkiness that diet meats usually carry. Garlic and spinach versions actually smell fresh, not sour. The flavor hits quickly and clean, with no chemical haze at the back of your throat. Cheap is not the same as safe. We've said it before, and it applies here too. The difference with Alfresco is they show their cards. The ingredient list is readable, not a science fair project. No corn syrup surprises. No color tricks to hide aging meat. It's transparency that feels almost strange after the gray blotches and sour packs from brands like Great Value. Now, let's be real. Portion control still matters. Even lean sausage can stack up if you treat the pack like a challenge. Here's a tip that works. Air fry them. You'll get a crisp bite without drowning them in extra oil. Keep spices gentle if reflux is an issue. Pair them with vegetables or beans for fiber, so your meal carries you instead of dragging you down. Would you put this on your grill first, or save it for pasta night? Drop your pick in the comments because flavor counts, but so does honesty from the label. At the end of the day, Alfresco proves healthy doesn't have to mean bland. It can mean food that respects your heart, your meds, and your taste buds. Here's how we'll keep you ahead each week. Don't risk your health on bad choices. Subscribe now, and I'll show you what to avoid and what's actually safe every single week.